Hey, who can hear me?
I can.
Yep.
Yeah, I can as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Hi everyone. Right.
Hello.
Let me just do the obligatory faffing about trying to make it show you the right thing. Bear with me 1 second. I've shared a link in the chat, which is to the kind of collaborative notes that I'm using today. If you could jot down, if you don't mind, if you could jot down in the attendees section, I think have a note of who's here and what you're doing so that people can stay in touch, or if they say, touch that person after a sensible question or something I want to follow up. And also, I just like seeing we've got an anonymous lemur, anonymous. So I'm going to go through, I've got a few slides, bits and pieces, but we'll just give people a few seconds, a few minutes to get their stuff together while I get my slides ready to share.
You're the host now, Joe.
So yeah, if you're just joining us, if you want to head into the link that I've shared, it's a Google Doc with tons of notes. And the idea is that today is a collaborative session, so you can all add your ideas, your feedback as we go through. So yeah, stick your details down on there if you want to know that you're here. And then you'll see as you scroll down, there's a list to add information about what you'd like to cover. And show which of those topics are most useful to you so that we can tailor the conversation. And there is space if you want to jot down any resources that you found. And I'm going to compile those all into a nice, tidy document. And then there's also space if you've got any particular questions that you want to cover today or in any kind of follow-up stuff, there's space to drop those at the bottom. And because we are all experts and anyone can answer those, so feel free to jot those in there. So we'll just give you a few more minutes to furiously type. Who, like me, is unable to type their name correctly first time, always embarrassing when everyone's watching. And I could also never type the word societies right first time, which was great fun when that was my job.
We're at 57 participants. How good is that?
No pressure. That doesn't even count my cat, who will, at least one will undoubtedly be joining us today, so that ups the numbers a bit. But it's nice to see everyone being so chatty in the chat. Hello, everyone. I think we should have followed Royal Holloway's lead and set a dress code. Don't know if anyone saw on Twitter, everyone had to wear a hat for their all-staff meeting. So Andrew, that's one for your to-do list for next time. I think there should be a strict dress code enforced.
I'm the next one, so student ops is next. And
if student ops can't do it, Rosie, no one can. Full team kit. Fencing was always my favourite outfit because you get the good mask.
You're only allowed in if you're wearing SU stash.
I mean, obviously, definitely. Okay, so it looks like we've got loads of different people, which is really nice. Hi, everyone. So just having a little look down the list, we've got marketing people, probably the best people, events, student voice, engagement. So yeah, we're going to be covering quite a few bits today. I am just finishing arguing with Zoom to load up my slides for you, and then we'll kick off. But like I say, do head to that document, because that I'm hoping will become a resource for today and kind of as we go along. So yeah, pop your details in there so everyone can see who you are and say hi, because what I'm talking about today is a lot of kind of collaborative online stuff, so it felt only right to make you all collaborate online. Plus it meant I didn't have to prepare so much. So yeah, hi. I'm going around in some Zoom circles over here, which is entertaining. So I'm gonna provide in a sec.
Might do one of these pitching sessions on appropriate posture while working from home. Don't know if I'm the only person that's turning into a human question mark.
I will fail for sure. But yeah, don't hunch over a laptop. That is my biggest piece of advice, because that is no fun for anyone. Right, okay. I can't make Zoom behave. Ironic, isn't it, when you're going to be talking about doing stuff. So let's go. So basically, yeah, I'm going to show you, I'm going to talk a little bit, and then we can kind of, yeah, chat through things. But what I'm going to do, just to save that awkward bit where someone in the background wanders past, and yeah, we kind of, there have been some amazing videos doing the rounds online of people accidentally doing terrible things in the background of Zoom calls. So I'm just going to mute you all so we don't have to hear you, no offense. But yeah, feel free to switch off your cameras if you want, I don't care. But yeah, feel free to keep chatting in there and adding stuff to the document. So no offense, everyone. I'm going to, drunk on power, just mute you all. Whoops, mute you all. Wrong button, smooth. Okay, so come on, computer, don't let me down. I'm going to show you I'm going to talk through some of this stuff. Now, these slides are available for all of you to access. Don't hang now, computer. Right, so hopefully you can see my slides. Please nod vigorously if that is working. Yes, hurrah. Okay, so these are available. I'll show you, there's a link on them. So you can access these as well, and you can edit them. You just reload that, because of course it's not working first time. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about today is this idea of moving stuff online, or certainly moving away from in-person interaction. And I'm going to show you some tools that you can use, but really I also want to show you that this is an opportunity, even though it's in kind of terrible circumstances, to think a bit differently, or do some things and not worry about replicating exactly what you've been doing in person online. So we're going to go through those. And obviously this is kind of, I think I agreed to do this on Friday morning, Thursday afternoon, Friday morning. So bear with me. This is not my most well-rehearsed talk. I mean, let's pretend I normally rehearse them anyway. But for those who haven't met, I'm Jo, and I worked at Student Seniors for a long time, most recently as comms manager at Sussex, but now I'm a freelancer. So yeah, my background is originally I was a volunteer around the RAG Society, was on committees, then I was a sabbatical officer, worked with student societies, and moved through into kind of engagement, particularly digital, and marketing and comms. So this is a collaborative file. This whole session is collaborative. So you'll be able to edit this file directly, these slides, via that link. And they are linked to from that Google Doc as well. And that Google Doc is one that you can do. So if someone's very bored, who knows, you could completely stitch me up by deleting the rest of this or adding something wildly inappropriate at the end. So, I mean, kind of don't, but, you know, I trust you. So first of all, just for anyone who, I mean, you probably all had a crash course in Zoom, but for anyone who isn't familiar, one thing you can do is you can use this raise hands tool, which is just allows you to indicate that you've got a question. I'm having to full screen this at the moment, so I can't actually see you, so bear with me and I'll come back to you. And you can also, as well as the group chat, you can also chat directly with individual people by just clicking on that. So if there's someone in particular you want to put a question to, or you want to send me a message that I can come back to, you can also use that too. So I'm going to talk briefly about kind of different approaches to online service delivery and give you guys a general pep talk. And then we're going to go on to looking at specific tools and platforms. So in terms of this kind of general approach, I first wanted to just say, like, you've got this. You're going to be great. You all are experts in what you do. Everyone is in this totally weird situation. Like, it's going to be fine. So none of this today is about, like, by tomorrow you should have all singing, all dancing, amazing, spectacular services. That is not what anyone is expecting. So yeah, don't feel that that is what you're supposed to do. We're all making up as we go along, and make sure, yeah, you look after yourselves. But that said, hopefully you are able to find some time to think a bit more creatively, and as we kind of adjust to this strange time, kind of look at it and have a chance to think a bit more broadly rather than constantly being in panic mode at the moment. Fingers crossed. So a while back, in what now feels like 400 years ago, maybe a month or so ago, I've done a brief talk a couple of times on this idea of doing digital. And it's linked from here, you can click through to see if you want to. But I was talking about how unions often get very excited about this idea of digital and how it'll solve all their problems. And usually by that they mean we need an app, or maybe we need a shiny new website. And my argument was, those things are cool, love those things, but they're not necessarily what digital, kind of understanding the full breadth of what digital offers you. So I've said that I think that digital is about centering what users need. So rather than what can we do that looks cool, so what do those people need? And those people might be your students, it might be a specific group of students, so it might be people that run sports clubs, it might be your staff, it might be different groups of staff. So, but really think about what they need rather than what you can do or what you want to tell them. For me, digital is also based on research and testing. So trying things out, piloting projects, building something small, and then kind of adjusting as you go along. And it's also about people, it's not about computers. And I think that's an important thing to bear in mind as you look at how you can deliver services online, is to, you could have an amazing, fancy, super cool thing, but if it doesn't suit how people want to engage with you or how they want to interact, or if it means they have to download another app when actually they're doing 95% of that via Facebook or WhatsApp, you can't just build something cool and expect that people will use it. You've got to really understand what they're trying to do. And also for me, digital is nimble and agile, so it's flexible, it's trying things out, it's changing if that doesn't work, it's not getting bogged down with building something massive. And it is never finished, so you're always adjusting, kind of do something, see what people think, change it to better meet their needs. So it's that kind of cycle. And it's also about kind of open data and being transparent. So if you're interested, you can click through and see more, and I'm happy to answer any questions about it. But one thing that struck me when I wrote that list is that list could actually apply to student unions. So we know this stuff. We're good at this. We do this stuff all the time. We shouldn't be afraid of this. We are all about what do students need? What do they think? What are they telling us? We base what we do on research. We try things out. So like, this is, like I said, we've got this. We know what we're doing. And if you're interested in that particular kind of approach to things, this idea of kind of agile digital development and delivery, there's two great resources. Well, one great one, the Government Digital Service. They've got loads of brilliant stuff online. As part of their digital work, they are very open and transparent. They blog about it a lot. So I really recommend having a read there. They've particularly got some great stuff around things like accessibility and research and listening to people. And then, like I said, I've also got my presentation, which is a bit more tailored to students' unions specifically. So the main thesis, the central point of my thesis is that you don't have to worry about replicating your offline things online. It doesn't have to be an exact match. So don't panic if you can't see how something can be delivered without in-person interaction. And specifically, I think it's worth embracing this idea of asynchronous communication, which is probably my favourite phrase. I say it a lot. It makes me feel very, very clever. But we're really used to synchronous communication. So we all sit in a room together and we have a meeting. We're all there at the same time. We discuss something between 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock, and then we all go home or back to our offices. But the idea of asynchronous communication is that those things don't have to be happening at the same time. And I've linked here to Basecamp's guide, and they make an online project management tool, which I thoroughly recommend if you are not using something within your organisation that keeps your information, your projects, your kind of actions and information in one place. Now is a brilliant time to switch to one. I'm more than happy to chat because it's one of my favourite topics. But Basecamp are great. Their stuff's really user-friendly. But they are a completely remote company. So they do have an office in Chicago, but I think they say like a handful of people go in at any one time. So they're really used to working remotely. And they've shared, again, like the Government Digital Service, they've shared a load of that information online so that people can read it, and I really recommend it's really helpful. But they talk a lot about this idea of asynchronous communication. So maybe that's posting something on a message board or putting up a document or an email, and then people can respond when they want to. And that's particularly great for the students because they're now going to be spread across the globe. They're going to be in different time zones, have different levels of access to reliable internet. So definitely that's one thing to think about, is getting away from the idea of the activity happens on a Tuesday between this time and that time. So I'd give that one a go and kind of bear that in mind as we go through. So going back to this idea of not having to replicate what you do offline, online, I think you should think about what you're trying to do, not focus on how you're trying to do it. So I'm using an example that I've chatted through with someone. So here we're looking at an imaginary language network. So the way this normally happens is that every week in our coffee shop, students come along between 7 and 9:30. We divide them up into groups. We've got a table of people speaking German, got a table of people speaking Spanish, etc. around the room. We have trained volunteers who lead activities and discussions for each group. And each week we have a theme. It might be food, it might be what we like to do in our spare time, it might be how we celebrate big traditions. So that's how we're used to it working. But then if we look at the what, so what we're trying to do is we want students to practice their language skills via in-person conversation. We have volunteer opportunities, so we provide training and then those volunteers lead the sessions. We physically bring people together in the coffee shop. We build connections and networks between those students, and there's an element of kind of cultural exchange and internationalization. So that's the kind of what we're actually trying to do. And so, and this is great, these are supposed to be crossing those out rather than underlining them, but bear with me. So the idea is that actually we can find the essentials. So it's not essential that those conversations are in person, and it's not essential that that's in our coffee shop. So we're already starting to refine things down. And maybe we want to prioritise. And we say at the moment, for this period, for the next term, we'd love to offer great volunteer opportunities, but you know what, we are going to have to prioritise, and we are not going to offer additional training. Or we're going to significantly cut down our reliance on volunteers. And these are only suggestions, by the way. I'm not saying this is how you should do it. I'm just trying to show you that you can kind of pick through and decide what the priority is. And you might decide, okay, the cultural exchange stuff is brilliant, but we're going to really just focus just on the language skills. That's what we want. Or you might decide this is an opportunity to refocus. So actually, the language skills is almost a secondary benefit. And what we really think this is about is it's about tackling isolation and building community. And it may be that that now is far more important for your members. So you can kind of pivot slightly or refocus. So say we've decided that's what we really want to do. Then we come back to the what. So we've got, then we come back to the how. Damn it. So actually what we want to do is we want to create a place for students to share their ideas, and then they can host their own kind of conversations as and when they want to. Maybe we're going to use Instagram live streams, and those volunteers will stream, and that's great because that goes to all of our members rather than just the people who can make it on, I don't know, a Tuesday evening to our coffee shop. Maybe we're going to create a document where everyone can co-write a story, so they're co-producing something. And again, that's great for the asynchronous thing. If you say to people, you know, write a few sentences, write a few paragraphs, and people can build that up together, and then someone can go back and correct it and edit it. Maybe you want to create an online scrapbook so people can share information about themselves, and that's another way to kind of build those connections and those collaborations. Or maybe you're going to use a web chat for different languages. But there's also apps that you can use like House Party or Netflix Party, which let you play to get games together and do activities via video chat, or stream a Netflix program and then kind of have a text chat alongside. One of the examples that came up a lot in people's questions was an awards ball, and as someone who is now trying to organise some awards that may be completely remote, I'm very with you. And so if we go back to this again, what we used to is everyone gets dressed up for a night out. We show them nominees, maybe on a web page beforehand, and on the night maybe we put, you know, slides up on a screen. We build the tension, and then we announce the winners, and everyone has a great time and goes home. So that's what we used to. But if we come back to what we're actually trying to do, what we're trying to do is give people an opportunity to celebrate what they've achieved that year. We also want to recognise people that have done good things. And often we want people to kind of have the opportunity to get together and have a social activity together. So there's tons of different things that you could do here. So maybe you want to schedule a video chat with the nominees, so get all the nominees from a particular category together, and then you could stream that live, or you could record it, package it up and publish it online so we can see their reaction, and that's part of the kind of tension and the joy and the celebration. Maybe you're going to live stream them. You could put together like a little package with graphics and kind of run a session on whatever platforms you want. You could schedule a webinar, so pull together everyone from a particular category and then kind of do a little preamble, and then people can congratulate each other. You could run the whole thing almost like a conference. So you could say, we'll announce the best team awards on Monday at 3, and we'll do the Volunteer of the Year award on Tuesday at 4, and people can kind of RSVP to those sessions, and then at those times you can either run like a pre-recorded announcement or a live announcement, and you can just post the results on your website or social media. Again, if you don't have the capacity, you don't have to replicate something on the scale that you've done it before. It's totally fine to do what works for you. You could also expand further and invite your nominees or your winners to host Q&A sessions. So if we're saying these people are great and they've done brilliant things, you can use your platform to let them share their ideas with other people and kind of almost run like peer-to-peer training for people. Also, you know, this idea of asynchronous, you can move away from the joint celebration happens between 7 p.m. and 11 p.m. on a Friday night, and make a festival of amazing things that people do. So by combining some of these ideas, you can kind of make it a bigger thing, and then it's also accessible to people who couldn't make it on the night or can't afford a ticket. You can invite people, if they've given you written submissions, you can invite them to make video submissions where they're talking about why they think something's brilliant. Or you could ask your nominees to do those, to record something about it so that they can share kind of their kind of enthusiasm, but also practical tips for people. Or you can do something, go offline and post out like an envelope or a box for the winners. It's like the social distancing equivalent of turning up on their doorstep with one of those giant novelty checks. So maybe you could, get them to film their reaction as they open something to reveal that they're a winner. This is a chance, like I said before, to use your creativity and do something different, and also use it to test. Because I think that for a lot of what we're finding now is that this stuff, some of this is not going to be temporary. We're going to find brilliant ways of doing things that we want to keep and build on in future. So I'm going to talk very briefly about specific tools, because I think opening this up to chat and discuss will be helpful, and also in plan to compile a few more and share them out. But I thought I'd show you some of the things that we could do. But the idea is that this can be something that we build together. So as I've said, you've all got access to edit these slides, so you can duplicate, there's a template I'll show you, and you can fill up information, and if we get quite a few, we'll make kind of sections for different types of tool. But you can also add to other people's things, so if someone's listed an advantage of something that you think they've missed something, you can add it as another bullet point. So let me show you what we've got. So this is my kind of basic template, and the idea is that, yeah, that you can all log in and add as you find things, or as you find, oh, this is how we did our awards in this tool, it's really great, you can add those in. So I've put a few in for you already. So Calendly is something that I already use, and it's brilliant. It lets you schedule things. So one of the things I missed lots of things when I stopped working at Sussex, but one of the really boring practical things was being able to easily set up a meeting by sending them a request and seeing when they were free. And then I found myself doing that thing of kind of trying to set a meeting with a client or schedule something with someone and doing like 97 emails back and forward, which is fun for no one. But Calendly is great because you link in your existing online calendar, and then people can book appointments with you. So this would be great for like advice services, or if you're kind of checking in with volunteers, it lets a student book with you when they will be free. And you'll be free. And you can also do group appointments. So if you want people to book on to a webinar or things like that, you can also use it for that. So it's great because it links in with your existing calendar stuff, and you don't have to go back and forward a million times. This might seem unexciting, but my goodness me, when someone told me WhatsApp had a web like desktop version, instantly saved me so much WhatsApp rage as I'm messily typing with my clumsy thumbs. This is a biggie. This is brilliant. So this has been completely crowdsourced. It's the Coronavirus Tech Handbook, and it's like I say, a crowdsourced guide, and it has so much information and so many tools and things for managing your team, for staying in touch, all sorts of bits and pieces that I thoroughly recommend. And also, I think one thing that in the rush to kind of use all the stuff that people are recommending is that we forget that our institutions often have loads of tools. So they've got, clever online polling systems or other things that might already be connected to their like student accounts or things that they're used to. So it's really worth having a look. And also they often have institutional licenses, which will save you loads of money. So that's, I did say I was only going to show you a few tools for now. I'm going to put some more together. I'm going to drop back in and unmute you and give you a chance to chat. But while I get set up with that, oh yeah, so you can also subscribe to my emails. I'm going to be, like I said, I'm going to pull this together and it will go out via the SU Skills and through my list, the 25 dots list, as we pull together more of these. But one thing I can do now is we'll have like a general group chat, but if it's useful, we can also run some breakout sessions via Zoom. And again, this is something that you might want to do if you're running training or having kind of all staff meetings and then you want to break people up and come back together. It's a feature. You have to pay for a Zoom subscription, but it's absolutely worth it. But while I set those up and catch up on what's been going on, Andrew, I don't know if you want to chat about your upcoming sessions. I'll hand back to you briefly.
Oh, great. Thank you very much for that, Joe. I think that was really useful. There's going to be a lot of tools that people are going to put up on there. So yeah, people make sure you do contribute and then have a look back afterwards when it's filled up. Just while Joe gets ready to sort out the breakout rooms, the next one of these sessions is going to be on Wednesday, and it's going to be about student opportunities. Rosie, who's looking after that meeting, is here, but I think she's still muted by Joe. So, oh, she's been unmuted, which means I can put her on the spot now. So, Rosie, Rosie, what's happening on Wednesday at 2?
Organised fun. Haha. No, we're going to talk about some of the things that have been a bit tricky with student opportunities, why it's important for us to try and kind of keep our cool communities going, and some ideas for doing that. And then there's been loads and loads of really good stuff happening that's been student led. So students coming together and like organising online parties and stuff. So we'll talk about some of the little nice ideas too.
Great, thanks, Rosie. So yeah, people can sign up for that one. I'll send some email invites around and people can share them freely as well. I think I invited 31 people to this meeting and we had a peak of 70 participants. So it's a pretty good rate of spreading it around. Joe, are you ready to go back to lead a discussion about the things we talked about?
So I realised, thanks Rosie, one of the things I forgot to say is also don't panic that you, the union, has to provide everything and have all the answers. Your students are doing amazing things and they know, you know, great things. So don't worry that you have to control all of that. I think a lot of that comes from when we used to being the people that run the building and schedule the meetings and have the people come to us. But this is a great example of letting students lead and, you know, using their creativity and imagination. So what I'm going to do in a second, I'm going to unmute you all and we'll have I don't know, a sing-along or something, good for morale. But I've also, like I said, I've got some breakout rooms, so if there are any particular topics that people want to chat about in smaller groups, we can do that. So I thought maybe a student opportunities one, maybe events. So yeah, feel free to mention those in the chat box, or here we go, I'm unmuting you all. Hi everyone. So has anyone got any particular questions that they wanted to discuss with everyone?
A lot of people
That's
are
a
still
resounding no.
No one wants to go first.
Okay, don't make me ask you individually. Someone is going to go for it. Or not.
Maybe let's frame it as, what's the biggest systems or organisation challenge that your union has already overcome? And what did you learn from that?
Paul's thinking hard and seeing.
People are choosing which one to go for.
Where do I start? Have you got anything that you've either managed to solve or that you're still thinking about?
Are you still talking to me?
Yeah, I'm picking on you, Paul. Picking on you.
Thanks for that. Our advice service seems to be up and running pretty much so far, mainly using Skype for Business, which for years we haven't been able to get to work or even log into outside of our own organisation. But now this seems to have drawn everybody in, and to get round what actually turned out to be a simple problem that baffled everybody to make it work. So other than getting all the kit turned on to be able to use everybody's kit and stuff like that, they haven't seen a drop in casework so far. They've actually maintained it all.
Great. And I mean, you know, with platforms like this and other things, obviously it also gives you the chance to like fill in forms together, do screen sharing and things. So yeah, you can replicate a lot of that. One thing I didn't mention, I was putting a slide together and I ran out of time, but it's just to, I mean, as always, like bear in mind things like accessibility and inclusion. So if, for instance, you are relying on things like Google Docs, a ton of people in China are unable to access that. So that's a potentially big chunk of your students who aren't always able to access the same tools that you can. And obviously not everyone has access to reliable internet. So just kind of bear in mind and make sure you're checking that you're not relying on one particular format, or you're not relying on audio, visuals. But like I say, I'll pull together a few more resources on those. Anyone else got any questions or ideas? I did warn you this would be collaborative.
Hi everyone, I'm Lauren from Coventry.
Hey, go on then, Lauren.
So I actually thought it was really interesting what you said about doing things for different time zones, because as an issue at the moment, society, sports, volunteering, we're all coming together to try and make sort of a schedule of activities that we can put online to students. And I think we were maybe looking at having quite a few live events, whether that is individual societies doing things on Instagram Live, on YouTube, whatever it may be. But actually I think maybe we do need to think more about, especially because we've got a lot of international students, the ways in which we can put something out and that they can still then sort of comment on or come back to and still be a part of, and not like that thing's done and they've missed it. So that's definitely something I want to try and feed back and look at how we can do that a bit better.
I mean, the handy thing is obviously you can literally poll people and find out, use things like Doodle and find out what a suitable time is, or use things like recording live activity and then replaying it, or just running multiple sessions. But yeah, I think it's just things like that when you're so used to everyone being in the same place at the same time, literally the same time zone, sometimes, yeah, that can just, it's kind of, yeah, just be something it just doesn't occur to you on a normal basis.
Yeah, definitely.
David, what are you trying to say? Oh, Andrew's waving. Hi, Andrew.
On the question of time zones, if anyone's from a university that's moving its exams to be done online, what are the universities doing about time zones if students are spread all over the world?
Wonder how many people have thought of it.
Now, I saw someone ask on Twitter earlier today, and it hadn't occurred to me at all. But yeah, if students have been sent home and then they're saying the exam's happening 9 a.m. UK time, that's going to be 3 in the morning for some people and 10 at night for others.
Yeah.
Answers on a postcard.
Mhm.
So many things to think about.
Yeah. David, did you have a point you were going to make?
Yes, I was going to throw something out because we have a bit of a live issue that we've been discussing this morning, logistically how to do this. This is quite specific and niche, but it would be interesting to hear if anyone's got any ideas how to facilitate it. But we've just cancelled our varsity series. And so we were talking about trying to fill that gap by running like an e-varsity, like an esports tournament, to fill the void. But we couldn't figure out logistically the best way to do that. Obviously, like you could do something, there's a ready-made platform in Twitch, but it requires people to be set up to stream, and that's probably not realistic to do. So we're just wondering if anyone's thought of something similar or has got an idea of how that could be delivered.
So there's multiple ways you could kind of do something like that. So kind of helpfully, my partner works in esports.
Okay.
So they're like one of those notes which I actually can help on. But alternatively, I have also worked for the Quidditch National Governing Body in my past. And how they're going about it is really, really fun, is that they've swapped their massive BQC, their British Quidditch Cup, to being a Facebook only, like competing on the games. So they're saying like, right, you've got 48 hours and your whole team has to get X amount of points, and that's how they're doing it. Unfortunately, in terms of esports and that kind of thing, with like maybe having a chat with your esports societies if you've got one, because they have quite a lot of different ways to facilitate things. Like if people have computers and that kind of things. Unfortunately, it does take a lot of tech, which a lot of students won't have. So that in terms of like decreasing that barrier to participation, it's quite difficult. But like there is those Facebook games or random other things online that they could do. So for example, our esports team has done I don't know, they've done like Overwatch or something like that, or there's like Fortnite and stuff. So maybe instead of or for example, our lacrosse team versus DMU's lacrosse team, I saw them doing like keepy uppies with toilet roll earlier on, and stuff like that. So I think it's more about moving them away from their current sport and being like, what's fun things you can do at home to engage. So like things like that, or being like, I don't know, all sorts of random bits and pieces. Like we've seen our clubs, like my favorite one, it's not a sport, but like our Astrophysics Society has done #isolate like an astronaut, which has been so much fun to see. But yeah, I think maybe have a talk to your esports societies and that kind of thing, get those ideas going, and maybe they can facilitate your hockey team having an epic FIFA showdown with somebody else because they might already have a Twitch set up. Like we've been having conversations at home with my housemates and my partner saying like, well, all other sport is cancelled, but for once video games are the way forward.
Yeah.
So I think maybe it's just like, it's accepting the fact that varsity can't happen, still like creating like silly things to compete against your rival university. So maybe even like for today, I know lots of us have been posting about like cute puppies and what setups we've got at work, in our offices at home and that kind of thing, or for me in my living room. maybe doing something to do with that. I don't know. It's like a creativity kind of thing.
One thing that we at Coventry always lose to Warwick, if nobody knows, I don't think we've ever won, so we're quite used to finding ways to make varsity interesting. So last year our librarians challenged Warwick's librarians to see who could put the books away quickest and sort the books out, and it became like the viral thing of Varsity 2019. And it's just a fun way that I think if you are going to continue to try and do something varsity related, try and create that atmosphere, get the staff to challenge each other on social media to do things, so it's not just the students. And like you said, it can be the silliest things, or it could be quite serious still with esports and gaming. Maybe try and get some of your societies and volunteering involved as well, so it's more of a entire SU, we're competing against each other than just sport.
Maybe you could do one of those things which is like, so Kerry posted one out for us, which was like, I think on Sporkle, which was like top 200 Harry Potter characters or something like that. Maybe create like a Sporkle quiz related to your specific SUs or something like that, and get the teams to quiz it out. Like loads, as we were saying before, like loads of them have done pub quizzes before, so might as well take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And also you could do things around like about your city.
Your internet working.
That's something that you've got
Keep saying mine's unstable.
Oh, hi, Ian. That's something that you've got in common, is knowing your city. So, I mean, you know, obviously we're not encouraging people to go out and actually walk around it, but you know, you could do some stuff around your university or the city that you've got in common. I've dropped a few suggestions in the comments for online quiz platforms and online games I've seen people using. So those might be options as well. But also, yeah, I think as has been said, like chat to your students and see what ideas they've got and how you can collaborate. You know, can your radio station record podcasts about what's going on, and those bits and pieces. Anyone else got any burning ideas, great suggestions, or just panicky moments they want to share?
It'd be interesting to know, do people think that the sort of the online activity that we want to bring out, should that be from us as staff in quizzes and challenges and things like that, or should we be trying to continue to get our students to still try and run their activities but in a digital format?
I think do both. Like that's what we've been doing. So we have like we've got Let's Quarantine and Chill, which has been great from our marketing team. But like we've been saying to the groups, like we have book club and they cancelled all their stuff, and we'd be like, how about you do this? Because like for example, for our open days, we found higher engagement when we kind of prompted them in the right direction, and then they naturally all inspire each other. So like maybe your first few super active groups that you have at Cov, be like, hey, why don't you do this? Or facilitate it this way, or link them other SUs. So for example, I've just said about our ones, tell them about them, be like, go and look at them, maybe you do the same, because I think then they naturally come up with more and more stuff.
Can I just jump in on that and just say that I think go back to what Joe said earlier about thinking about what you're trying to achieve and not necessarily thinking about how you'll do it. And what we try and achieve in student opportunities is getting students to lead activities. So I would always, I would suggest that it's about encouraging and motivating and giving them the tools to do stuff, but trying to encourage students to lead as much as possible because they know what they'll find interesting, and don't worry so much about you trying to fill a social calendar with stuff. But do lots of motivation and encouragement. But we can talk about some of that stuff on Wednesday in the student ops one of these too.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rosie, but I think as usual the higher powers may want a full schedule out at times.
Well, Rosie and I are happy to write you a note. Service available to everyone, very reasonable charges. Cool. Well, I'm happy to wrap stuff up there unless anyone's got any burning questions or other pieces. But what I think we should do is we should move this conversation to that Google Doc so that everyone can continue to add things and yeah, put together their ideas there, and as things kind of go along and you realize it's something you don't understand or you've got a question, like come back to that and add those, and give any of us a shout. Got any questions at all?
I'd say one thing quickly. We've got a lot of students of faith on campus, and we have an exceptionally high amount of faith groups, and we get on really well with our chaplain who lives on campus. So what we're planning to do is hosting, and we've got one student who's critically ill at the moment, not from the virus, from something else, and there's a lot of students that are reaching out to have that kind of faith support. So we're going to be hosting some kind of online prayer platforms, where either student groups can host them or our chaplain will be happy to run them. So I was going to say that because we've also got that going, I don't know what the circumstances are in your places, but if there was interest and you needed that, then we could happily kind of share that out with your students as well. Because obviously at the moment, if you a student of faith, it's one of those times when it's really important to them. So that's something, if you guys wanted to think about it, we're at Hertfordshire, we'll set a day that she's going to do that regularly. So if you guys wanted to link in with that, then let us know.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Natasha. Awesome. Well, I'm happy to leave the meeting open for a while if people want to keep chatting or put any questions. And I have to say, I think that is a record because neither of my cats has joined us. So well done, everyone. We have truly been blessed in this session. But yeah, thanks for joining us. And we'll pop all the stuff that we've discussed around via email so that you can follow any of that up. But thanks for joining us, and I hope you're coping. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to say, Andrew, before we kick it on out?
Yeah, just want to make sure that if people haven't put their email address in that Google Doc already, please do so now. I've just put a link to Rosie's session on Wednesday in the chat, so you can see the Zoom link there. And I'm very keen to have as many of those as people think useful, and I really want to encourage people from student unions to lead them as well. So if people have something that they want to lead a bit of discussion or something that's worked really well or a lesson that they've learned, please let me know. I'll set up on the platform and promo and spam people and stuff. Yeah, I really want to have as many of these sessions as we can. So yeah, my email is hello@suskills.co.uk. My name's Andrew. Yeah, looking forward to seeing you all on Wednesday and beyond. Back to you, Joe.
Awesome. All right. Well, like I said, we'll leave this open if people want to chat for a little while. And I'm just re-dropping that Google Doc link in the chat so that you can find it. But yeah, thanks for coming.
Cool, thanks.
Thanks for hosting. Can I, if anybody has any particular hot topics that they want to chat about on Wednesday, then let me know and I'll do as much prep as possible, but it'll be a similar format to this. So it'll be like sharing ideas. So I won't necessarily have all the answers, but yeah, see some of you there.
Right, given that you've all gone quiet, I think we'll kick you all out. But yeah, thanks for coming along. Bye.
Thank you.